Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, good people? It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. It is Saturday afternoon. It is 4:20 p.m. and it is February 17th. I want to share something with you. It's not really in the lines of direct ministry, but it's in the lines of ministry. That was clear as mud, wasn't it? At any rate, let me just get into this story. Now, when I started this particular genre of ministry, I said I was going to be real, raw, 100, and autobiographical. So, this is an autobiographical piece. Now, I've shared I am a dyed-in-the-wool Yankee. My parents are from the South, but I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York. I was born and raised on the Lower East Side of Buffalo, New York, which is the predominantly black area of Buffalo. But my parents' mom specifically was progressive in thought and, idea. So we were like always the first black people in our neighborhood. You know, um, my mom, through money that she inherited, bought a house in an all Polish neighborhood. So, black kid growing up in an all Polish neighborhood. Think it was fun? Absolutely not. But, we learned to get along. We learned to commingle in peace. But I also want to say, I grew up in a household where you were proud to be black. If you were nothing else in life, you had that sense of pride in being from, I want to say, nut bottom and coming up. Nut bottom means not having nothing, at the bottom. And my grandparents owned property. My mother owned property. Amen. I choose not to because I'm so far in life that I don't want to pay for anything for 30 years now. Amen. I'm not a spring chicken. That being said, there was a sense of community, a sense of pride, a sense of ownership, and a sense of rooted connection in being black. I remember when my mother went back to school, she was taking black literature classes, and she would leave the books laying around. And two of the books I read, one in particular, awakened me to the Black Panthers. And that was Soul on Ice. I read that book from cover to cover, and I was about 7 or 8, but it was an amazing book. See, one of the best gifts my mother ever gave the kids, I have 2 other siblings, was a library card. See, back in the day, when you were underage, your parents had to sign off on it. And, every Saturday, she would walk us to the library. I can't tell you how many weekends I spent in the library. And I developed this weird habit of reading multiple books at the same time. So, I read the entire Beverly Cleary series in less than a month, and then I got more and more advanced. But after reading Soul on Ice, I was on fire for my blackness, I want to say that. And I sent away for Black Panther literature, which I thought was going to kill my father. He thought my sense of pride and my sense of nationality was going to somehow get him kicked out of the army. Never mind his behavior. But yeah, there you have it. So that's a little bit about me. And, I talk about the absurdity of racism. I talk about critical race theory things. And, I check people when they're out of line. I'm that girl, and a lot of times I see people just like, oh, don't say it. Don't do it around her, That being said, I have this one brother who I have come to know, who I have come to love, who I have come to embrace. This brother, and I call him a brother, is a white guy born and raised in the South. And he knows, or he's been able to intuitively feel that, I desire the sense of connection with folks. And I'm not going to bite people's heads off about asking questions. The only way to tear down a wall is to ask, about how to tear down the wall. Where is the load-bearing part of the wall? Amen. So we have these deep conversations, and he tells me, KB, I know I can ask you because you're not going to get mad or be dismissive. And we had this conversation the other day, and I want to tell you, first, that the thought that he can come to me is a blessing for me, and that he relates to me in a sense that we're so opposite, but we seek the same things, connection. So, we had this conversation, and he used the phrase that is popular. It's a colloquialism that people use, and the phrase is white trash. And I said, don't say that. And he asked why I said don't say that. And it's like, I told him the term is derived from entitlement, where people think, that's an insult because it implies that the entitlement is there. We're not supposed to have trashy people. And he, being who he is, did his research. My brother locks things in his feelings. And I tell him, it's like, you get into your feelings, you get invested in things that don't bring life. So we talk about emotions and things too. But he did his research, and he came back. He said, did you read that article I sent you? And I hadn't gotten to my email yet. And I said, no. So I got to it later in the day, and I went back to him. I said, I read it. He said, it just confirmed what you said. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, but if we take it, further into, and then we had another conversation. And again, I really appreciate this brother's open-mindedness and his desire for connection, true connection. And, we were just talking about deconstructing and examining entitlement. And people don't think about it because, our society is so vested in it and built on it. Amen. But he's starting to see with fresh eyes. And I love that for him. Amen. Yeah. And, I still have to navigate through it and around it. But now he's learning to kind of tear it down from within. You see, I'm always going to be navigating and negotiating from without. But now, again, fresh eyes looking within. And, that's how God brings us in. We hear about God. We see poor examples of God, Christians demonstrating. I want to say that. We don't see poor examples of God. We see poor examples of people demonstrating what they believe God said or who they believe God is. But then when we look at it from fresh eyes, from our point of view, from our sense of entitlement, from our experiences, and, from our life lessons, what's right and what's wrong. I hate those definitive measurements. What we need to unlearn. Let me put it like that. Because it worked when it worked. But then we found out that some of the things that worked were unhealthy. Amen. So, being able to work and operate in that and deconstruct that, and at the same time, draw people in during the deconstruction. That's how God works. Amen. God worked in the connection with this brother. Love him to pieces. I love our conversations. And God works with us the very same way. What's the draw? Because so many people have temporal, transactional relationships with God based on some things that they need to deconstruct.